We have Michael Penix Jr. and the Atlanta Falcons taking on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. This is your Week 6, 2025 prediction and preview video. Let's get straight into it with the home team here, the Atlanta Falcons. They're coming off a bye week, and they're currently 2-2 entering this matchup against the Buffalo Bills. The last time that we got to see this team play was against the Washington Commanders, and they won this game 34-27. And Michael Penix Jr. had a huge bounce back game in this matchup. He was 20 of 26, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. He was able to go out there, manage the game very well, and make some elite level throws. That's why he also had 313 passing yards. And it was important for him to have a bounce back game against the Commanders, because just the week before, he did not look good against the Carolina Panthers. They lost that matchup 30-0. That was easily the worst performance of his career in the NFL up to this point. But Michael Penix Jr. has had some big-time moments this season. In Week 1 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, next to Bijan Robinson, he was their most consistent player. He was able to go out there and make elite-level throw over and over again. He did not lose them the game against the Buccaneers in Week 1. The defense let him down. They allowed 3 passing touchdowns to Baker Mayfield. And the next week, Michael Penix Jr. was very surgical underneath with his passing to Drake London, and the same with Darnell Mooney against the Minnesota Vikings. They won this game 22-6. He was 13 of 21 for 135 passing yards. He took what the defense gave him, and he looked very good against the blitz. He looked very good against pressure. In this matchup against the Bills, they have one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL currently, and Ed Oliver is questionable for this game. It's important to note, Ed Oliver has not played a single snap since Week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens. He got injured in practice, but he has been limited in practice this week. If he's not able to play, you run the football up the middle over and over again with Bijan Robinson, and the same with Tyler Algier. You run this offense through your running backs, and you depend on your defense, and you depend on your running backs and your offensive line in this matchup. The Buffalo Bills have the second best passing defense in the NFL. They can give you a lot of problems on the back end of this defense. But the pass rush has been inconsistent at times. We've seen the Buffalo Bills go out there and struggle to get pressure on opposing quarterbacks in certain moments. Not to say that their pass rush is non-existent, but they've been very inconsistent up to this point in time in the season. And the more time that you give Michael Penix Jr. inside the pocket, the better off you will be. But use Tyler Algier as a sledgehammer running back. Run him through the tackles. Then you have Bijan Robinson. You can run him through the outside. The reason why I say run up the middle over and over again, you want to tire out this defense. Then you can get the home run play with Bijan Robinson. This is what happened against the Minnesota Vikings in Week 2. In Week 1 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they were stout against the run, but Bijan Robinson had a crazy play that went for a 50-yard touchdown in the passing game. You can use a table route coming out of the backfield with Bijan Robinson. He's one of the best running backs in the NFL. And it's the reason why the Atlanta Falcons are 6th in rushing offense this season. You have 2 very good running backs that you can run this offense through. And let's just say the run game does stagnate. You can use those short passes to substitute for your run game. And we all know that Coach Robinson, the offensive coordinator with the Falcons, he loves that pistol formation. You have to get out of that pistol formation in this matchup. You can run pistol every now and then, but you have to give the Buffalo Bills different looks. They still have an amazing defensive head coach and Coach Sean McDermott, who's a former defensive coordinator many years ago for the Carolina Panthers. You have to take advantage over the middle of the field. Test out those safeties on the back end of this defense for the Buffalo Bills, because you have Drake London on the outside, and you also have Darnell Mooney. Now, what's interesting here is that the Buffalo Bills, they have looked very good against outside wide receivers this season. The problem with this Bills defense has been the slot position. We saw Stephon Diggs last week have a big game, primarily playing inside the slot. You have Darnell Mooney. If he's inside the slot and that safety rotates over, you rip the seam every single time. And this is something that Michael Penix Jr. has done a lot this season. He did it a couple weeks ago against the Washington Commanders. He did this against the Carolina Panthers. The passes went for an interception. So we know that he'll take those shots down the field, open up the playbook in the pass game, and you have Kyle Pitts at the tight end position, who can give these linebackers a lot of problems, and the same with the safeties in open field. And if you have a one-on-one situation with a safety, especially if it's a corner route with Kyle, you take that opportunity every single time. But you have the playmakers in this matchup to go out there and to move the football up and down the field on this Bills defense. We saw the Bills give up a lot of points to Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Last week against Drake May and the New England Patriots, they had a very good first half, but in the second half, not so much. And the Patriots won that matchup because they were physical on the offensive end and the same on the defensive end. But the keys to victory here for the Atlanta Falcons: believe in your run game. Switch from that pistol formation, run Bijan Robinson outside zone, toss plays, sweeps. Keep this defense honest. And you have Tyler Algier up the middle every single time and work off of play action and minimize those penalties and those turnovers. And this is a solid offensive line unit for the Atlanta Falcons. I like the offense in this matchup. I trust that Michael Penix Jr. will go out there. He'll make the right throws. He's missed some throws in the past. With the exception of the one game against the Carolina Panthers in this season, he has played very well. It just comes down to the play calling overall with Coach Robinson. Now, as far as the defense here with the Atlanta Falcons, it's very interesting. They're ranked first in total defense, first in passing defense, but they've let up a lot of rushing yards on the ground. You have to contain the run game here with James Cook. Look at what the Patriots did last week. They took away the run game with James Cook. Josh Allen was the leading rusher. Now, don't get it twisted. Josh Allen is still one of the best quarterbacks in the game. He's one of the best dual threat quarterbacks at that. You don't want him going out there and rushing for big yards on the ground, but you'd rather for him to go out there and kill you with his legs than James Cook, because if James Cook is constantly gashing you over and over again, you have to switch your fronts. If you go out there and you switch your fronts, the next thing that you know, Josh Allen may come out and he may have a 2 tight end set with Dalton Kincaid and the same with Dawson Knox. Or they may have Khalil Shakir inside the slot position, or even Keon Coleman. So you have to keep this team honest here. Contain the run. I'm not saying go out there and sell out to stop the run, but you contain the run and you get aggressive up front. One of the biggest reasons why they dominated against the Minnesota Vikings, you were constantly putting pressure on J.J. McCarthy, but this is no J.J. McCarthy. This is Josh Allen. And look at what this defense allowed to happen in week 1 against Baker Mayfield. He had 3 touchdowns in that matchup. I like the players that they have on the back end of their defense, especially if A.J. Terrell is able to play in this game. He's a definition of a true number 1 cornerback. And he's dealing with a hamstring injury right now, but he's on pace to play in this matchup. And you have Xavier Watts, who has been a very good safety this season. 2 interceptions and 4 pass deflections. They need all those players on the back end of this defense to be ready. There is no number 1 target every single week with the Buffalo Bills. That's what makes this team so hard to go out there and to beat. But if you can contain the legs of Josh Allen and you can contain the run with James Cook, you give yourself a chance. And be on lookout for Jalen Walker within this front 7. He's been a very good rookie so far this season. Has done a very good job in terms of stopping the run and getting to the quarterback. And you have Arnold Ebiketie. He's not going to go out there and give you those splash plays every single down, but he's able to go out there and give you some consistent play when you need it the most. You have Leonard Floyd, David Onyemata, and Ruka Woro, and Zach Harrison, and James Pierce Jr. They need those rookies to step up once again. When they went against the Minnesota Vikings, pretty much every draft pick over the last few years, they showed up and they showed out for the entire game. And the biggest factor with this defense, with the Atlanta Falcons, it would be Jesse Bates on the back end of this defense. He has been their most consistent defensive player over the last few years. Since they signed him in free agency from the Cincinnati Bengals, he has yet to record an interception this season, but he is still one of the best cover safeties in football. Just be on lookout for a heavy run attack and be on lookout for the misdirection with the Buffalo Bills overall. But with the Atlanta Falcons coming off a bye week and being the home team, they really have to be seen as a favorite in this matchup against the Buffalo Bills right now. We'll see what happens. Now let's talk about Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. They suffered their first loss last week against the New England Patriots, but they're still one of the best teams in the NFL. That's why they're 4-1 up to this point in the year. One of the biggest reasons to why you lost against the Patriots last week, you had so many miscues on the offensive end and so many dumb penalties. You had 11 penalties as a team. That is very rare for a Bills team that has been coached up by Sean McDermott over the last few years. And on top of that, Josh Allen had a fumble and he had an interception. They need to get out to a fast start against this Atlanta Falcons team because of the horsepower that they have on their offensive side of the ball. And you have the MVP in Josh Allen for a reason, but you need to give him more help in the backfield. when we go back a few years ago, the early days of Josh Allen, they did not have a consistent run game. So Josh Allen was asked to do everything, pass the football down the field, be the leading rusher. That's not the case anymore. You have James Cook, who is one of the most talented running backs in the NFL. This man only had 49 rushing yards last week, while Josh Allen had 53. Now, it's normal for Josh Allen to go out there and have 60 rushing yards in the game or even 75 rushing yards in the game, but you need more out of James Cook. He needs to step up in this matchup. And I'm not saying that he needs to go out there and have 2 rushing touchdowns for 150 total yards, but get him going out of the backfield. Let him touch the football as a receiver coming out of the backfield. Feed him in short yardage situations. Run the QB sneak when it's 3rd and 1. But just give Josh Allen the help coming out of that backfield. It can't always be Josh Allen every single drive. And that was the case last week. You're putting so much stress on him. And when you look at this defense of the Atlanta Falcons, you have to be very careful here. They were mass coverage on the back end. Coach Brick is their defensive coordinator. He's done a phenomenal job with this secondary. But you could take shots underneath to Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid. The same with Keon Coleman. Last week, the leading receiver was Dalton Kincaid. 6 catches, 108 receiving yards. That'll get it done. He's a former first-round pick for a reason. And Khalil Shakir had 45 receiving yards. But he was making big play after big play over and over again. And you have Joshua Palmer, who had 36 receiving yards. Curtis Samuel had a receiving touchdown with Keon Coleman. Go to the hot hand here. You don't have to go out there and feed just one receiver on this team. And that's the luxury with the Buffalo Bills. Every single receiving target, they give you something different. But a 2 tight end set could definitely help you out in this matchup against the Atlanta Falcons in terms of running the football and going out there and working off of play action. And we've seen Josh Allen be very successful within this system over the last few years with Joe Brady. Just run your offense, but make sure that you get the run game going with James Cook. And misdirection can most definitely help you out in this matchup. And the biggest question here for the Buffalo Bills this season, in week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens, at this point in time, the Ravens were a top team in the NFL before they started to struggle with injuries. You won this matchup 41-40. Against the New York Jets, they're one of the worst teams in football right now. They haven't won a single game as I record this video. You won this game 30-10. Against the Miami Dolphins, you won this game 31-21. But this game was a bit closer than the box score may suggest. You won this game by 10. And the Miami Dolphins have struggled this season. And against the New Orleans Saints, you won this game 31-19. There were some close moments here against the Saints. So the biggest question here with the Buffalo Bills, can you go out there and can you dominate the Atlanta Falcons, or will you be able to go out there and keep this game close enough so you could possibly get a game-winning drive out of Josh Allen? That's the question here with the Bills, because something is still off with this team on the defensive end. And this is no shade towards their offense. Their offense is one of the best offenses in the NFL. And this carries over to the defensive conversation here. The defense needs to step up, and they need to be better. I understand that they had a late interception against Tua a couple weeks ago, Thursday Night Football, but Tua was driving down the field a lot with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. The run game has to be kept in check for the Atlanta Falcons, because if it doesn't happen, Bijan Robinson can single-handedly go out there and take this game over. And the same with Tyler Algier. Look at what this run game did against the Minnesota Vikings, one of the best defensive fronts in football. Now, Ed Oliver has been out over the last couple weeks dealing with that foot injury. Hopefully he can play in this game. If he can't, you have the defensive head coach for a reason. He needs to step up and run different plays and give them different looks and play a heavy attack against this Atlanta Falcons front. You have to outcoach Zach Robinson here, who is the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, and you have the talent to do so up front. Outside of Ed Oliver, you have Joey Bosa. He's not the same Joey Bosa that he once was, but he can still go out there, get to the passer. He can steal the edge. He can contain the run. And you have Greg Russo, who can get to the passer and has been solid against the run and the pass. AJ Epinesa, he's also a solid pass rusher. He can contain the run. But it's the inside of this defense at the defensive tackle position if Ed Oliver is not able to play. Daquan Jones, and the same with Deion Walker. Those players have to step up with TJ Sanders. And it's certain stunts that you can run up front against the run here. A pirate stunt would definitely help you out in this matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. We haven't seen much of that this season with the Buffalo Bills in their front seven. And Matt Milano, he's dealing with an injury right now. So you're depending on Terrell Bernard, and the same with Shaq Thompson. Now, Shaq Thompson, he is familiar with this system. He's a former player with the Carolina Panthers. At that point in time, Sean McDermott was the defensive coordinator for the Panthers, and he made some big-time plays last week against New England Patriots. He's not the same player that he was a few years back. He's dealt with some injuries over the last few years, a torn Achilles. Then he had the situation where he broke his leg, but it wasn't on him. His Panthers teammate slammed the Saints player on his leg. So those injuries over the last few years have slowed him down, but you see him still be able to go out there and be a field general for the Buffalo Bills in certain situations, but you have to be better against the run in this game against the Atlanta Falcons. Take away Bijan Robinson and sit on top of these wide receivers in the pistol formation. When they run the pistol, it's a bunch of flat routes, it's a bunch of curl routes, it's a bunch of routes underneath. In the middle of this defense, they need those safeties to go out there and to be better over the top. And Taylor Rapp, and the same with Cole Bishop. You have Tre'Davious White at the cornerback position, and the same with Christian Benford and Teron Johnson. Those are very good cornerbacks in my opinion. Tre'Davious White has taken a step back, torn Achilles, torn ACL over the last few years, but he's still a solid corner to have on this roster. He's a veteran. While Maxwell Harrison is still on IR right now, the rookie that they drafted in the first round. But this is a solid defensive unit name-wise for the Buffalo Bills. They just have to be better against the run. That's the one thing that has been their Achilles heel this season. Against the pass, it's there. You're second in passing defense for a reason. But they need more consistency out of this defense, and they had those plays last week against Drake May. But be on lookout for Darnell Mooney up the seam. He's one of the best deep threats in the NFL. It's going to be very interesting to see who they have cover Kyle Pitts in space. With all that being said, this is one of those matchups one of these teams have to break through. We'll see if the Buffalo Bills are really one of the top tier teams in the NFL. In my opinion, they are. And we'll see if the Atlanta Falcons can be more consistent in the NFC. Because I look at it from this standpoint, you suffered a loss in week 1 against the Buccaneers, even though Michael Penix Jr. had a very good game. In week 2, you looked dominant against J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings. In week 3, you laid an egg against the Carolina Panthers. Then you bounced back in week 4 against a backup quarterback in Marcus Mariota, and you won that game 34-27. And the Atlanta Falcons, they are a different team at home than they are on the road. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills in this matchup, and I have the Bills winning this game by a literal point, 28-27. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you have taking this game, the Atlanta Falcons or the Buffalo Bills? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, when each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.